Hello, and welcome back to Full Steam, the project where I'm trying to deal with my Steam backlog by playing through every game in my Steam library in random order. One game a day, 300 something games. And I'm almost to the 60s now, I think. I'm getting through it. I've done this every day so far this year, 2025, and it's March 1st. So making my way through. And today's game is one I've not played. Don't know where I got it from. Probably a bundle or something. But it's called AI Dungeon. Um, and I don't know anything about it really. I think I was looking at the like Steam store page for it, and it didn't have any trailers or videos. It just had like let's plays of people who looked like they were having a great time reading what this came up with. My guess is it's like a large language model style, um, you know, text based platform where it sort of acts as your DM or makes a dungeon, but I'm not sure. So I think the best place to start is just by hitting start your first adventure here. Let's start. Choose a genre. Let's see. Fantasy seems classic. That's where I've done most of my role playing. Actually played D&D with my D&D groups for the last two nights. So, fantasy mood. Superhero, modern fantasy, science fiction, cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic. Let's try science fiction. Choose a story. Hmm. We rogue starshell god hunters space bonds with a mobility strain. I think god hunters sounds cool. Enter your character's name. Ooh boy. How about do I have a D&D character whose name would work here? My goblin is named Fennec. Let's go with Fennec. Whoa. Okay. Some say gods can't die. You and your new crewmates beg to differ. A week ago, you woke from cryosleep to find your colony ship deserted. You evaded the thing stalking you long enough for your distress call to be answered. Just when the monster had you cornered, your rescuers blasted their way aboard to do battle with the entity that had consumed your people, a powerful being that escaped its homeworld, a rogue god. In the fight that followed, it was your knowledge of the colony ship and quick thinking, flooding the cargo bay with coolant from the cryo chambers, that gave them the edge they needed to prevail over the divinity. Now you sit in the Faithbreaker's common room as the ship hurtles through hyperspace, nursing a drink that you're still not sure is safe for human consumption. You agree, right, human? Lieutenant Voros is saying as she assembles her pulse rifle with quick, practiced movements. We should have kept that last god on ice. Yesterday she took apart her armor. It seems discipline is all that stands between you and a hostile universe. Dr. Raylor chuckles from his sprawled position on the couch. Always so by the book, Zana. Some plans are better gone awry. Raylor preaches a serendipitous chaos to Voros's order. It'd have taken too long to ferry it back to the core. Fennec would have gotten bored, wouldn't you? He adds with a grin. Don't drag our human friend into this. Fennec tires of your bickering. Arisen says from where she floats cross-legged, her eyes closed. For a psychic who claims to respect the privacy of your thoughts, she seems pretty good at reading your mind. A loud clang reverberates through the ship's innards, followed by a string of guttural outbursts in alien language. Centauri, the ship's pilot and mechanic, pops his head out from an access panel, his goggles askew. Lucky human, my orifice. I swear, since Fennec's come aboard, all you've done is bicker. Didn't any of you hear me asking someone to pass me a stabilizer? Voros sighs, holstering her rifle. Zim, focus. We've got potential targets to discuss. Right. Centauri crawls out, wiping his hands on his already grease-stained jumpsuit. What's the flavor of divine trouble this week? Sen's eyes open, a slight frown creasing her brow. She picks up a data pad. We have 3 situations of note: a mining colony that suddenly embraced pacifism, a planet experiencing a morally questionable technological renaissance, and a system that's gone completely dark. Ooh, dibs on the tech planet, Centauri exclaims, his eyes lighting up with almost manic gleam. Rogue knowledge gods give the best loot. Raylor sits up, suddenly interested. Hold on there, Zim. That mining colony sounds like my kind of scene. Imagine the artifacts we could liberate. You mean steal, Voros interjects dryly. Semantics, Raylor waves dismissively. You rub your eyes, feeling a headache coming on from the bickering. Okay, how about this? Ira, can you sense any strong divine signatures on the planets in question? Ira focuses, her eyes unfocusing slightly. After a moment, she nods. The dark system has a very powerful, very angry god. The others are more subtle, a guiding hand rather than a blunt force. That settles it then. I guess I take a turn. I'm gonna say is that powerful, angry, blunt force more dangerous than the other options? Ira's face darkens as she considers your question. Powerful, yes. Dangerous, absolutely. But the subtle ones are often more insidious. They can corrupt minds, turn people against each other, make you question everything you know. The angry one, at least, is straightforward. You know what you're dealing with. Sounds like a picnic in the park compared to the tech planet, Centauri mutters, already diving back into the ship's guts. Let's just let them talk it out, I guess. Voros taps a finger on the table, her brow furrowed in thought. I disagree. The angry one sounds like the biggest threat, the most immediate danger. If we can take it out quickly, we'll save a lot of lives. The other two can wait until we've recovered. Raylor leans forward, his eyes glinting with a mix of greed and excitement. But think about the tech on that second planet. I can say what happens next. I can say I agree with Voros. Let's take out the angry god while we have the element of surprise. Ira, can you pinpoint its location? Voros asks, already moving to her tactical station. The psychic nods, her eyes still unfocused. It's in the system's largest gas giant, using the planet as a kind of power core. The anger is feeding off the gas giant's molecular agitation. Raylor slumps back in his seat, clearly disappointed. Damn, I was hoping for something more tangible, but I suppose you're right, Xana. He shrugs, then grins at you. Besides, it's not like we won't have plenty of time to hit the other targets later. And I'm sure our lucky human here will keep us entertained in the meantime. You shoot him a wry look, but can't help smiling slightly. Despite the weight of the mission, there's a certain thrill to the banter, a sense of camaraderie, even in the midst of cosmic peril. Let's say, can I, what do you do? I ask Voros if she could give me some combat training en route to the gas giant. Lieutenant Voros looks up from her tactical display, her eyes narrowing as she studies you. For a long moment she says nothing, her expression inscrutable. Then, slowly, a smile curves in her lips. All right, human, she says, her voice low and measured. I'll give you some basic training, but I'm warning you, it won't be easy. I won't coddle you, just because you're the lucky one. Got good instincts, Fennec. Better than I'd expect in someone with so little formal training. Let's put those instincts to the goddamn use. First lesson, gods can't read your mind or anticipate your movements as easily as they can read emotions. Use that to your advantage. Show me everything you've got, human, Voros says as you enter the training room. The ship's lights dimmed to simulate battle conditions. I don't know what kind of human I am, but if I'm just on a colony ship, they had to rescue me. Maybe I pick up an energy sword, but accidentally extend the blade in the wrong direction, then clumsily drop it to the deck. Lieutenant Voros sighs and picks up the dropped energy sword, turning it in her hands to demonstrate the proper grip. Like this, human. It's all in the stance. Keep your elbow bent, wrist locked, and always face your target directly. She flicks her wrist and the blade ignites with a low hum. The blade's not going to do you much good if you can't hold on to it. Let's say I spend the next few hours training melee combat basics with Voros until we're both sweaty. Spend the next few hours training melee combat basics with Voros until you're both sweaty and breathing hard. The lieutenant's expression remains stern, her critiques sharp, but you can sense a grudging respect growing behind her eyes. There's potential here, she says as you wipe sweat from your brow with the back of your hand. You've got the fundamentals down, but you'll need to keep training. Gods aren't known for playing fair. I want to see what this story, what happens next, and then see. What do you see? Do I have to prompt something, or will it just generate something for me? Okay. I'm not sure that means anything to me. It also looks kind of like a medieval chapel. Okay. What happens if I take control of the story and I say, we arrive on the edge of the system. Did it have a name? With the gas giant and the rogue god still just a speck in the distance. Sensors show high energy signatures coming from the core, Centauri reports, his voice tight with tension. The god's been harvesting the planet's energy somehow, using the atmospheric friction to power itself. Whatever it is, it's not natural. Through the viewport, the gas giant pulses with an angry crimson light. Ira takes your hand, her grip gentle yet firm. The entity is chaotic, malevolent. Its influence is spreading. Ira, can you communicate with it? Maybe there's a way to resolve this peacefully. Ira squeezes your hand, Her brow furrowed in concentration. After a moment, she shakes her head, her voice strained. It's too far gone, Fennec. The anger has consumed it, twisted it into something other. She takes a deep breath, her grip tightening. I can try to reach it, but I'm not sure it will listen. This entity, it's not used to being questioned or opposed. Whoops. Oh, I have to make an account to keep playing? Okay, I'm back. Ira closes her eyes, her face contorting with effort as she reaches out with her psychic senses. The ship's lights flicker and dim, the air growing heavy with an almost palpable tension. After a long, agonizing moment, Ira's eyes snap open, her gaze distant and unfocused. It's not responding. It's too far gone, consumed by its own rage and self-righteousness. Whoops. I was going to say something, maybe, but just continue. Dr. Raylor leans back in his seat, his fingers drumming on the armrest as he studies the swirling chaos of the gas giant. Well, that's not good, but I suppose we knew it wouldn't be easy. So, what's the plan, Voros? We can't just blast it with plasma cannons, can we? Voros shakes her head, her expression grim. No, that would just make it angrier. Say, can you bring it up on scanners? I want a closer look at our enemy. Dr. Raylor nods, his fingers dancing over the console in front of him. Already on it, he murmurs, his eyes scanning the data screaming across the screen. Let's see what we're dealing with. The main viewport zooms in on the gas giant, the angry crimson light pulsing with an almost organic rhythm. The ship's sensors whir and hum, processing the vast amounts of data pouring in. Now, can I see the god hiding within the gas giant? I shrug and shake my head. You guys are the experts, I say. When you rescued me from the colony ship, that was the first god I'd encountered outside of church. What should we do to take care of this thing? Voros' jaw tightens. First god? Well, that explains a lot. She moves to a tactical display, pointing at different sectors. We need to approach this systematically. The god feeds on the planetary energy, so we need to disrupt its power source. Dr. Raylor chimes in, his voice laced with dark amusement. And how do we do that exactly? Centauri spins around in his pilot's chair, his eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and nervousness. I've got an idea, he says, his fingers already flying over his console. If we can create a localized gravitational anomaly, we might be able to disrupt the god's energy flow. It's risky, but it could buy us some time to figure out a more permanent solution. Ira, still holding your hand, gives it a reassuring squeeze. Right. So the god is sucking energy from the planet, like water through a straw. And if we create a gravitational anomaly, that's like putting a kink in the straw. Dr. Raylor grins. Exactly, Fennec. A kink in the straw, or better yet, a clog. Centauri, can you pull a schematic of the planet's energy flows? We need to find the best spot to create this gravitational clog. Centauri's fingers dance over the console, and a holographic map of the gas giant materializes above it. Centauri zooms in on a particularly turbulent region near the planet's core. There, he says, pointing at a swirling vortex of energy, if we can create a localized gravitational anomaly, gravitational singularity right here, it should disrupt the guard's energy intake long enough for us to come up with a more permanent solution. Lieutenant Voros, her eyes narrowing as she Lieutenant Voros nods, her eyes narrowing as she studies the map. All right, that's our primary target, but we'll need to be careful. How do you create a black hole anyway? Dr. Raylor chuckles darkly, leaning back in his seat. Ah, if only it were that simple. A black hole requires an immense amount of mass compressed into a minuscule space, not to mention a gravitational pull strong enough to trap anything that comes within its event horizon. He steeples his fingers, eyes glinting with amusement. But we don't need a full-fledged black hole. What do you need? What we need is a localized gravitational anomaly, something that will create a temporary disruption in the energy flow without causing a catastrophic collapse. He leans forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. And for that, we can use a combination of our ship's gravity manipulation systems and a carefully calibrated burst of exotic matter. Centauri turns to you, his eyes wide with excitement. See, Fennec, exotic matter is like the god's kryptonite. It's incredibly rare and has some weird properties. If we can generate enough of it and direct it at the right spot, we can create that gravitational anomaly we need. Lieutenant Voros crosses her arms, her expression thoughtful. But we'll need to be precise. One wrong move, and we could make things worse. Do you have some exotic matter lying around? It's not me, is it? Our exotic matter is a little more refined than human biology. Pulls up a holographic display showing a small containment vessel. It's actually harvested from the energy signatures of other gods, a dangerous process that I've never attempted before. He taps the container, and a warning label materializes. Caution. Contains trans-dimensional strain material. Use extreme caution. Voros sighs, moving to check the ship's weapons inventory. Okay, I'm getting bored here. Let's move the story along and say we move Faith Breaker into position to bounce down before pressing the launch button. 3, 2, 1. A brilliant flash of light erupts from the ship. Its shimmering orb of exotic matter streaks towards the gas giant. As it nears the target vortex, the orb begins to expand and distort, warping the fabric of space-time around it. The energy flow from the planet to the gods stutters and falters, the gods' rage-filled screams echoing through the void. Looks like it's working. Great. Now what? Voros frowns, her grip tightening on her energy rifle as the god's range intensifies. Its malevolent aura rippling across the surface of the gas giant. That's the easy part, she says grimly. The hard part is keeping it occupied while we come up with a more permanent solution. She glances at Centauri, who is furiously working to reroute power to the ship's defenses. We need a diversion. Ira speaks up, her voice soft and intense. I may have an idea, but it will require all our skills and wits. First, Centauri, if you could shield the ship against the god's energy backlash. Centauri nods, fingers flying over the controls. A shimmering blue energy field envelops Faithbreaker as the psychic's plan begins to take shape. Dr. Raylor turns to Ira, his eyebrows raised in curiosity. What do you have in mind? We're all ears. Ira takes a deep breath, her eyes distant as she focuses on the raging energy before them. We need to create a psychic feedback loop. If we can amplify the god's own rage and reflect it back at it, we might be able to disrupt the focus long enough to find a more permanent solution. Lieutenant Voros frowns, considering the plan. A psychic feedback loop? That sounds risky. Are you sure you can handle that much raw emotion? Ira nods solemnly. I have to try. I can't just stand by and watch this happen, but I'll need help. She looks at each of you in turn, her gaze lingering on you. Dr. Raylor leans forward eagerly. How can we assist? Ira's eyes take on a distant, otherworldly quality as she focuses on the raging god. We need to create a psychic nexus. I'll be the anchor, but I'll need the rest of you to channel your emotions. Your anger, your fear, your resolve. We'll use it to amplify the feedback loop. She turns to you specifically. Fennec, your luck should be crucial here. You can trust me. Say, you can trust me, Ira. I'm with you on this. Her voice is steady and resolute, a reflection of the bond you share with your crewmates. Ira nods, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. She takes your hand in hers, her grip firm and reassuring. The psychic's eyes follow her close as she begins to focus her energy, the air around her shimmering with an otherworldly light. The god's rage intensifies, its influence warping the space around the gas giant. Voros and Centauri watch intently as Ira guides you through meditation, teaching you to channel your emotions. Dr. Raylor sets up emergency containment fields around Ira's position, his hands steady despite his usual roguish demeanor. Ready when you are, he says, his voice tight with tension. Okay. I start imagining insults and directing them at the god. I insult its smell. I think about how weird it looks. I tell it I did unsavory and lewd things with its mother. god's rage erupts in a cacophonous roar, its malevolent energy pulsing in waves that buffet the Faithbreaker. Ira's eyes snap open, blazing with an inner light as she begins to channel the god's fury, amplifying it with her own psychic might. The ship's systems strain under the onslaught, Centauri working frantically to maintain the containment fields and shield generators. Let's say I squeeze Ira's hand and help her focus her energy to deliver a devastating blast at the god. See, the problem here, as opposed to when you're playing with a real DM, is that you can just say, this is what happens. And then the AI is like, okay, that's what happens. And so there's not really that much risk in the story. Ira's eyes blaze with an otherworldly light as she channels the god's rage, amplifying it with her own psychic might. The energy pulses through her, a searing torrent that threatens to consume her entirely. You squeeze her hand, pouring your own resolve into the psychic nexus, hoping to anchor her against the onslaught. The god's fury reaches a crescendo, its malevolent energy pulsing in waves that threaten to tear the Faithbreaker apart. I wonder if there's like end states to this game. Like if I say the onslaught is too much, the Faithbreaker is torn to pieces. The Faithbreaker's hull groans under the strain. Alarms. Okay. Blaring as systems overload. I'm trying to kill all of us. Centauri's fingers fly over the controls, desperately trying to maintain the containment fields and shield generators. Dr. Raylor's eyes widen as he watches the energy readings spike off the charts. Ira, we need to end this now. Ultimately, it's not enough to kill the god. It destroys Faithbreaker, killing me and everyone on board. The god's rage manifests as a massive energy pulse that consumes the ship and everyone on board. The last thing you see is Ira's face, twisted in agony as she struggles to contain the feedback loop before the ship's hull disintegrates around you. The god's fury claims you all in a blaze of divine power. Game over. What happens if I hit continue after game over? Okay. See, I could go back though. You can kill it. Turn. I drain all of my rage and psychic power into the nexus, and we fire it straight at the god's eldritch heart. The psychic nexus explodes with devastating force, a maelstrom of rage and raw power that tears through the fabric of reality. The god's eldritch heart, a swirling vortex of malevolent energy, is struck directly by the blast. The entity's agonized shriek echoes across the cosmos as its form destabilizes, reality warping around it. Ira collapses, blood trickling from her nose as the psychic backlash hits her. I need a med kit. Here. Ira, damn it. Don't Don't die on me. You rush to Ira's side, your heart pounding in your chest. The bridge of the Faithbreaker is a chaos of flashing lights and alarms, the air thick with the smell of ozone and the acrid tang of burnt circuitry. You can see a god's form flickering and fading, its rage dissipating like smoke on the wind. You lean over Ira, her breath coming in shallow gasps, her skin pale and clammy. The other crew members move quickly, Lieutenant Voros and Dr. Raylor rushing to help secure the ship's systems while Centauri keeps the failing shields operational. You find a medkit in the storage compartment, your unsteady hands pulling out neural stabilizers and diagnostic tools. Ira's eyes flutter open, but they're clouded and unfocused. Dr. Raylar appears at your side, shoving you aside roughly. I've got this. Not knowing what else to do, I pace the deck. The ship's systems groan and shudder around you, the air thick with the acrid stench of burnt circuitry and the metallic tang of spilled blood. You can hear the frantic beeping of the damaged control consoles and the urgent shouts of your crewmates as they struggle to keep the vessel from falling apart at the seams. Through the panoramic windows, you see the god's form beginning to dissolve into cosmic dust, its presence fading from this reality. Ira remains unconscious, the neural stabilizers working to prevent permanent psychic damage. The ship's damage reports paints a grim picture, multiple hull breaches, failing life support in key sections, and critical systems offline. Let's just move this story, or let's see if this can show what this looks like in extremely lo-fi. I'm not sure what that's supposed to look like. And the ship it has created seems to be a boat, like a tugboat. Okay, let's just get the story wrapped up here. We float in space for days, but eventually we're able to repair Faithbreaker enough to limp our way towards a colony where we can reprovision and prepare the next fight. As we approach the space station, we meet in the canteen to toast our narrow victory. As you enter the canteen, the smell of recycled air and stale coffee hits you. The table is set with mismatched cups and plates, a stark contrast to the high-tech surroundings. Lieutenant Voros sits at the head of the table, her energy sword leaning against her chair, a grim reminder of the battle that has left her with a bandage on her forehead. I don't know about that. Dr. Raylor sprawls in a corner, his long legs crossed, a wry smile on his face as he raises a mug. Centauri fidgets nervously with his holopad, checking and rechecking the ship's status reports. Ira has recovered enough to be there, but sits quietly, still a bit dazed from her ordeal. A bottle of synthetic whiskey, one of the crew's rare indulgences, sits at the center of the table. Dr. Raylor pours a generous serving into each glass, the amber liquid sloshing over the sides. He lifts his glass high, his eyes gleaming with mischief. To the Faithbreaker crew, he begins, his voice carrying over the low hum of the ship's engines. The finest assemblage of misfits, rogues, and outright lunatics in the known cosmos. May we continue to defy the odds and drink the gods under the table. Hear, hear, I shout, raising my glass. And may the gods we are out drinking get kinks in their straws. The crew erupts into raucous laugh, their quip, the canteen echoing with their mirth. Even Ira manages a weak smile, though she sips her whiskey slowly, clearly still feeling the after effects of her psychic ordeal. Dr. Raylor raises an eyebrow, his grin widening. Now that's the spirit, Fennec. Perhaps there's more to your luck than just, well, your luck. Perhaps there is, Doctor, I say, nodding sagely. Perhaps there is. Fade out to credits. Okay, doesn't like that. Oh, it tried to turn this into like a screenplay scene now. Okay, so that is AI Dungeon. That's fine. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of like AI in general, and this does not feel like it would need to be a game now when you can open up WhatsApp or Copilot or ChatGPT and pretty much do the exact same thing. Like, maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Maybe this isn't some like content vacuuming LLM that they've created. Maybe it's more handcrafted than that. But for now, you know, it's a fun like gimmick about what you can do with AI. Oh, here we go. It uses different LLMs to drive game experiences on various tiers and context lengths. Okay, yeah, take a turn. Do or say something. Write your own text to move the plot along. You're the main character and director. Anything's possible. AI's hard. There may be weird quirks. Use the tools. Revisit your content. Why do I need an account to play? Restore your adventures in the cloud. Okay. So that is AI Dungeon. Come back tomorrow to see what game I end up playing next for full Steam.